Hello class, hello YouTube. This is Adam Gumba and welcome to my class. For today's episode, we're going to tackle about forms of communications. And there, our learning objectives for today is to identify the different forms of communications: verbal, nonverbal, and written communication. Appreciate the importance of having the forms of communications in real life situations. Familiarize the general principles of effective communications and principles of effective oral verbal communications. Create a minute video presentation introducing oneself with the use of verbal communications. And for today's activity, you are going to label whether the image that I'll be showing to you is verbal, non-verbal, or written communication. Okay. How? Yeah. How can you label this one? What is the label? Is it a form of verbal, non-verbal, verbal, or written communication? Correct. It is a written communication. How about this one? Emojis. We'll see that one later. Calls. We'll see that one later. What is communication? Well, communication, it is an exchange of ideas, thoughts, and information. It may be in a form of written or spoken from one source to another. And there are actually general principles of effective communication, and these principles are actually very important in having an effective communication. So let us put this in our mind. Okay. And first one is actually these principles actually came from Madronio and Martin. Okay. And first one is know your purpose in communicating: to inform, to entertain, or to persuade. So it is very important, class, that we need to know what is our purpose in communicating, because sometimes we tend to what do we call this one, lost ourselves during the conversation because we actually don't know what is the purpose of our conversation towards that certain person. So we need to let them know. You need to know what is your purpose in communicating. Whether it is it to inform, to entertain, or to persuade. Know your audience. So we need actually to know our audience. Consider their age, educational background, profession, culture, and other salient features of your listeners or readers. Know your topic. You cannot speak or write what you don't know. So, yeah. Prior to that, we need to know our audience because when we are speaking, we actually refer to what are the interests of our what do we call this one? I mean, our speech or our conversation actually needs to be appropriate to our audiences. So we need to consider their age, educational background, because in considering that one, they actually they will understand the context more easy. Okay, so you need to know your audience. Sometimes having a joke the um, let us say new generation, and if you are actually a 90s speaker, so if you don't know that there are actually a lot of new generation in your in your audience, then instances they will not get your joke. Okay, so we need to know what is actually our audience, who is actually our audience. Know your topic, of course. We need to know our topic. You cannot speak or write what you don't know, so we need to study well, prepare well, and yep, study in advance. So, all resources that will help your presentation or your speech, uh, then uh, acquire that one, study that one. Okay, and there, in having effective communication, there are actually principles in adjusting your speech or writing to the context of the situation. The environment in your speech or writing determine your kind of language or choice of words. So, yep. If you have actually a lot of elderly audiences, so you don't need to use speeches like um, like it is related to your field, or a register that is related only to your field. So you need to use simple words. You need to adjust your speech based on what your audiences are. So you need to, yep, adjust your speech, or in a form of written, you need to choose simple words, appropriate words to your audiences. Okay, work on the feedback given to you. Take the comments and criticism thrown to you. So you need to open your heart and mind as well from the feedback that you have been receiving, because that feedback will actually serve as a blueprint on how you will going to improve. Okay, because feedback serve as your weakness, that where you can still improve that one. Okay, so you need to work on the feedback given to you. Next one, there are actually forms of communications. We have verbal, non-verbal, and written communication. So let's proceed with verbal communication. Verbal communication is actually sharing of information, ideas, thoughts, and feelings between individuals using speech or spoken. Its effectiveness is influenced by speech, volume, speed, and clarity of speaking. Examples: face-to-face conversations, telephone conversations, video chat, speech delivery, and television and radio broadcasts. Yep, that is very understandable when we are conversing to other people. That is a form of verbal. Video chats, though it is actually online, still it is a form of verbal communication. A video chat, or in today's term, video call. Okay, and then we have actually a direction and tone. So direction, we have one way and two way. So one way, talking at someone; two way, both listening and talking. So basically, yep, in communication there is what we call direction, and one way, when you are alone. You alone is talking to somebody. That is one way. She is not talking, but merely listening to you. Okay, in two way, that's the time both of you are actually listening and talking also. That's it. And the tone, we have a competitive and cooperative. Under the competitive, talking while concerning their own perspective. So yeah, and cooperative, participants are interested with each other. So basically, in the competitive, so a speaker is actually concerning only with what is actually his stance. So uh, he don't I mean he don't care, he or she don't care about your perspective. Uh, she or he only considers his or her perspective, while on the other hand, cooperative is actually participants are interested with each other. So you are actually interested in conversing with each other, so you care from their statements, and they also care from your statements. Next one, we have four types of conversation by Angel, 2016. And we have first is actually dialogue. Well, basically, dialogue is a cooperative two-way conversation. The goal is for participants exchange information and build relationship with one another. Okay, and their example: two undecided voters talking about the candidate who they want to vote. So basically, it is a two-way conversation. So there is a cooperation. There is, yeah, and both of them are talking. The debate is a competitive two-way conversation. The goal is to convince someone. For example, two family members from opposite sides of the political spectrum arguing over politics. So, yeah, that is actually a debate. So, still a competitive two-way conversation because they care what you've said. They care for your stance. They listen from your stance, and you actually listen to their stance also. And yeah, that is a debate. We are actually very familiar with that when we are at the school. Students or two groups will have a debate regarding to a certain topic or a certain issue occurring in the society. So number three, we have discourse is a cooperative one-way conversation. The goal is to deliver information from the speaker to the listeners. A professor giving lectures to international politics. So in this course, it is only a one-way conversation. Why? It is because a certain speaker is only speaking. Okay, he is speaking, but the others are listening. So there is no a conversation between the two. Okay, there is no conversation between the speaker and the receiver. So it is one way. And yep, for example, a professor giving lecture to international politics. So that is a discourse. Diatribe is a competitive one-way conversation. The goal is to express emotions, intimidate those that disagree with you, and inspire those that share the same perspective. Example, a discontented voter venting about the election's outcome. So basically, a diatribe is still a one-way conversation where a certain speaker is actually giving his stance. Yep, and his goal is actually to express his emotions and intimidate those that he didn't believe him or her, right? And also, he or she wants to inspire those that share the same perspective. Yep, and there, if you are a voter and you are actually discontented to the outcomes of the elections, if you voted Lenny Robredo, well, basically you are venting, and yep, it is a one-way conversation. And there, let's proceed. And there, are we done with this? Okay. Principles of effective oral communication, Madronio and Martin, 2018. So there are principles of effective oral communication according to them. Be clear with your purpose, know your objectives. Be complete with the message that you deliver. Your claims must be supported with facts and information. Exactly. Be concise. Yeah, less is more. So, as much as possible, be concise, short but sweet. I mean, less is more, right? So, you need to be short and concise. Be natural with your delivery. Punctuate important words with appropriate gestures and movements. So there, be natural. Talk like you are actually talking to you already known for a very long time. And also, the last one is be specific and timely with your feedback. Input should be provided on time. So, yep. And feedback is very important. So you need to have a feedback too. And there you go. Effective verbal communications. Do not assume that receivers understand what you mean. Yep. Don't you ever assume that they understand what what you've said. Consider their beliefs, perception, attitude, and emotions when they listen. You need to consider the one too. Put yourself in their own shoes. Yeah. You need to be a listener. In order to be a good speaker, you need to be a good listener. That is the key there. According to Swedish economist linguist, Swedish economist Longqvist, sorry if I did not read that correctly, 2008, it should involve listening. Yep. In having an effective verbal communication, it should have involve listening. So you cannot converse, or you cannot converse to someone, or you cannot interact to someone to someone's communication if you did not listen carefully to what have they said. Okay, so you need to listening is very pivotal in having a effective verbal communication. Yep, so there are some suggestions for effective verbal communications. Yep, we've already mentioned that earlier. Know your audience, of course. Know your topic. Plan your presentations. Be familiar with the venue. There. Know your audience. We've already discussed the one earlier. Know your topic. Yep. You need to prepare. Plan your presentations. Days before the presentation proper, you need to plan already what you are going to do. Be familiar with the venue. Of course, you need to go to the venue in order to have a grasp or the feeling of the atmosphere feeling. It is very important. Yep. Because me as a I'm actually a singer, so I'm a performer. I have a band, and I need to go to the stage to check where should I go to check the stage, if there is actually a good spot where I can walk there, and and also to check whether the ground has a holes to avoid incidents like that. You need to be familiar with the venue, and also proximity is very important. So you need to, when you are conversing or having a speech, you need to go to the place. I mean, to the audience. You need to walk. That's what I'm saying. Be familiar with the venue. Okay, and there you go. Let's proceed to the non-verbal communication. It refers to transmission of communication without using words. Yep. Message is conveyed through gestures, body language, posture, facial expression, eye contact, touch, and tone of voice. And 55% face-to-face communication comes from nonverbal cues such as body stance, tone of voice, and facial expressions. Further, according to the study of May Rabian, 1981, only 7%, take note, only 7% is based on a sender's actual words, and 38% is based on paralanguage, the tone, space, and volume of speech. So, yeah, there are actually, non-verbal communication is very important in conveying a certain um, communication. Because according to the studies, 38%, imagine 38% um, compared to the words itself, 7% from 38%. That is very huge percentage. So paralanguage has a huge paralanguage body language has a huge role in conveying an effective verbal communication. So we need to execute what we actually mean. Okay, when you mean to eat, then you can use gesture when eating. Okay, there are actually types of non-verbal communications. Kinesics. Well, kinesics, the word kinesics comes from the root word kinesis, which means movement, and refers to the study of hand, arm, body, and face movements. So specifically, this section will outline the use of gestures, head movements, and postures, eye contact, and facial expression as nonverbal communication. So basically, kinesics, focuses on the hand, arm, body, and face movements. That is actually the focus of kinesics. Haptics refer to the study of communication by touch. Think of how touch has the power to comfort someone in moment of sorrow when words alone cannot. This positive power of touch is countered by the potential for touch to be threatening because of its connection to sex and violence. So when using this nonverbal communication, haptics means simply saying the power of touch. So a nonverbal communications, but it is very crucial. It is very crucial types of communication because you will be either charged as violent or sexually abusive if you will not impose or execute it properly. Okay, let's proceed. Vocalics is the study of paralanguage which includes the vocal qualities that go along with verbal messages such as speech, volume, rate, vocal quality, and verbal. So vocalics is from the vocal. Okay, so verbal messages such as speech, volume, rate, vocal quality, and verbal. It is very obvious. Proxemics, which refers to the study on how space and distance influence communications. We only need to look at the ways in which space shows up in common metaphors to see that space, communication, and relationship are closely related. For example, when we are content with and attracted to someone, we say we are close to him or her. When we lose connection with someone, we may say he or she is distant. So basically, proxemics is actually a proximity. It is very effective when we are actually discoursing or giving our speech. For example, you are talking to somebody, and if you tend to go there to their to near their proximity, and they will actually listen to you. So proxemics is very important. Okay. Chronamics refers to the study of how time affects communication. Time can be classified into several different categories, including biological, personal, physical, and cultural time. So, the study of how time affects communication. So, if you, for example, if you ask somebody to like this, like that, and you tend, I mean, if somebody asks you to, if ask you something and you tend to, ignore what are actually their messages, and you have only noticed after a month, well, basically your communication, the communication between you and the, yep, and your friend will not be, what do we call this one, will not be active anymore, because maybe they already solve uh, what they what is their intention in that message. Okay, so you need to, time is very crucial. And we are down to our last type. We have non-verbal communication. Non-verbal cues that can enhance or hamper communication. First is we have facial expression, eye contact, body language, posture, touch, space. Other forms of non-verbal cues which may communicate about the person. Appearance refers to the grooming and fashion style, neatness, and use of cosmetics, which may communicate one's personality. Yep, appearance will say something to you. Symbols includes religious status or ego-building symbols. A red sports car may cue to honors wealthy pockets. Yep, non-verbal symbols. Yes, sports car. When you see a sports car, that owner is actually very rich. So yeah, symbols are very important too. Yep, another one is static communication, includes creative expressions like dancing, singing, may say something about one's talent or artistry. So yep, static communication, that falls under static communication, dancing and singing. Alright, this is the last one. We're almost done. Written communication refers to the type of communication that uses the written language. Includes pen and paper, letters and documents, electronic documents, email, SMS or text messages, memos, written reports, and everything else transmitted through the written language. So that is very obvious. The effectiveness of written communication depends mainly on writing style, grammar, vocabulary, and clarity. So yeah, the effectiveness also refers to our writing style. If you have good writing style, then we can read your writing is very easy. Grammar, if you structure your grammar correctly, well, we can understand the one too, very easy. Vocabulary and clarity. So if you have a more general and easy to understand words, then that is not hard to understand. Clarity, so you need to be clear with your ideas or when you are speaking. It is not a novel nor a poem, but you are actually conversing or you are communicating, so you need to be clear. It is asynchronous, meaning to say the reader can't read it anytime. So yep, it is asynchronous, so you need to be patient when you are using this kind of communication. If somebody is not replying to you, if your crush is not replying to you when you give a chat to them, well, that is natural, and you don't need to be angry with that, because it is a written communication. It is not obliged that somebody will reply to your message abruptly. Okay, you need to consider that one. Written communication, it is collaborative. Unlike verbal communication, written does not provide immediate feedback. Of course, if you are contacting your supervisor through email or your boss through email, well, consider that they will not read it or notice it hour after you sent the email. Okay, suggestions in selecting words, observing principle of adaptation, Laskar 2004. Yep, take note of these words, it is very important. Use familiar words, choose short words over long words. Yes, use technical words with caution. Select words with the right strength and vigor. Use concrete language. Use the active voice. Active voice means the subject is the doer of the action. Okay. And avoid overuse and camouflage words. So, yep, cliche words is very redundant, and it is, yep, gas in Tagalog. Other forms of communication which may fall under verbal, non-verbal, or written. Intrapersonal communication. It is communication with oneself, includes self-talk, acts of imagination, visualization, recall, and memory. We have also interpersonal communication, exchange of information, feelings, and attitudes between two or more people. Yep, feelings, emotion. Public communication, delivery of message to a group of people. A political candidates deliver their speech in public. So that is verbal communication. Interpersonal communication, yep. Number 4, visual communication, transmission of information using symbols and images. Yep, that will fall under non-verbal communication. Mass communication, an organization sends a message through TV, radio, print media. That will fall on verbal communication. Computer mediated communication, referred as CMC, is the use of application computer to control multimedia and message-based communication, by Walters, 1995. And we're almost done here. Yep, and there you go. I need you to answer the following questions. Limit your answers in 3 sentences only. After 5 minutes, you should send your answer in the comment section. Which among the forms of communication is the most important for you, and why? Okay. For your scoring protocols, we have grammar mechanics 5 points, relevance 5 points, total of 10 points. And also for your assessment, create at least a minute video presentation not exceeding 2 minutes, introducing yourself with the use of verbal communication, and send it to our group chat. Or, yes, the video should be in a half body portrait. And their scoring protocols would be poise and confidence 5 points, clarity of voice, diction, eye contact 5 points, a total of 10 points. And there you go. And assignment, yeah, just disregard that one, just read in advance about visual communication. Alright, there you go. And there, I think we're done. And thank you so much for listening. This is Adam Gumba. This is, yeah, your teacher. And thank you so much, class, for your time. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you have learned something from this video. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Bye bye for now.